Dr. Frances McCormick. I'm a lecturer in the National University of Ireland in Galway, and I lecture in medieval English language and literature. I only got into Tolkien after I became interested in the Old English language and started to see traces of it in the little bits of Tolkien that I'd read. I'd read some and started to understand how the study of Old English can open those texts up. There seemed to be a number of conflicting reports about his attitude towards Ireland, and his attitude in particular to the west of Ireland. He's reported by a friend of his, J.R.R, who's a professor of English at Worcester, as describing Ireland as a place full of evil. And the view of Tolkien in Ireland has been very much tainted by that. Let me read to you what Sayers said. He, Tolkien, described Ireland as a country naturally evil. He said he could feel evil coming from the earth, from the peat bogs, from the clumps of trees, even from the cliffs. And this evil was only held in check by the great devotion of the Southern Irish to their religion. This was a very strange view, and not one I could even have guessed. What I think Tolkien is talking about here, and I think that emphasis on something being held in check by the religion of the Southern Irish people, I think that makes it clear that Tolkien isn't talking about an evil that's innate in the Irish people. I think he's talking about the evil that permeates the landscape, the evil that permeates the Irish mythology. I think he's talking about all of these mischievous and malevolent spirits who dominate the Irish imagination, spirits like the banshee or the fairy or the leprechaun. So I think Tolkien's relationship with Ireland has suffered because of this quotation from Sayre. He writes about Ireland in a very affectionate way. He writes about the landscape in a very positive way. He writes about the people, and he says for the most part, so he doesn't have an overly romantic view of Ireland. He writes about the people from a very positive perspective. The language, not so much. Significant possibility that when you go to a place and you feel evil coming from the cliffs and from the mountain tops and from the clumps of trees. There's quite a strong possibility that landscape that had such a powerful effect on him, that he felt the evilness, permeated his imaginings of the landscape that he creates in Middle-earth. It's always impossible to say, of course, it's always impossible to say categorically that this influenced him. But it certainly seems, with the way that the landscape is so evocative in Middle-earth, it certainly seems that it's a strong possibility that the Irish landscape influenced